be learning how to cut a female senator top. So that is tutorial for today, guys. If this is your first time of coming to my channel, guys, please kindly subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Okay, guys, without wasting much of our time, let's get started. So as you can see here on my table, I have cut out the amount of fabric I'll be using for this particular senator top. So this one will serve as the front, after which you go ahead and cut the back. Okay, so now, so for this particular tutorial, I've already marked out. So how I got this amount of fabric I cut out, I use the first or biggest part of my measurement, okay, plus my sewing allowance. And the biggest part of this measurement is the hip, all right? Remember, it's the hip, okay? Because our senator top is always longer. It's extended more than the hip size. So the hip is the fullest part of my measurement. So I have my hip measurement of 42 plus my extra sewing allowance. Okay, you can use 1.5 inches or 2.5 inches of sewing allowance. So after that, I went ahead to cut out the length of the senator top, okay, which I have the length of 33 inches. So I went ahead to add extra 4 inches of folding allowance. Okay, so that is what I have here. So from here, I'll be marking out my top length, which is 33. So here I have 33 inches. So the remaining here is so whatever I have here left is 4 inches. Okay, I have 4 inches of my folding allowance. All right, so after that, now the next thing we are going to do is to mark out our horizontal measurement. So first of all, I'll be marking out my shoulder to under bust, which is, I'll be using 14 inches for this tutorial. So here I have shoulder to my under bust 14, then shoulder to hip measurement, I'm using 25 inches. Okay, so you can go ahead and measure your client, or you use, but the normal is 24, but because she's a tall person, so I'm using 25 inches. So after that, next thing, I'll go ahead and I'll be measuring marking out my shoulder measurement. Okay, I have my shoulder measurement is 16 inches divided by 2, that will give me 8. So here I'll go ahead and add extra half inch. I'll be adding half inch to it. So after marking it out, so the next thing now is to mark out my armhole. And my armhole, I'll be using the same thing as the same thing I use for my, so I use 8.5, so I'll be using it as my armhole as well. So yeah, I'll go ahead and mark out my 8.5 here. So after that, I'll connect the line down. So this is my armhole. So this, remember, it's a senator top, so I'll be slanting this by 2 inches. For female, we always slant by 2 inches. So here on this shoulder part, I will just measure 2 inches here. This is my shoulder line, so I'll measure 2 inches. I'll go ahead and slant it like this. I hope you guys can see this chalk. So I'll go ahead and slant it this way. All right, okay guys, so after slanting it, I slant by 2 inches. Okay, so you measure your 2 inches from the shoulder or armhole line. For the shoulder line, you measure it down to the armhole and you mark it, then you slant it to the neck, to this part where we're going to be marking out our neckline. So after that, I want to first of all input all my horizontal measurements. So here my bust measurement, I have 38. So this is 38. So I'll go ahead and add extra 2 inches. So my under bust measurement, I have 32 inches. So you divided by 4 plus your sewing allowance. So my hip measurement, I have hip of 42 inches, that is 10.5. I'll go ahead and add my sewing allowance. So after that, whatever I got here, I'll mark it down. I will mark it straight down to the hemline. So I'll mark it, whatever I got on this hip, I'll mark it straight to the hemline. So I'll go ahead and connect all the lines together. Okay, so all right, so this is what I have here. So from here, I'll go ahead and measure the remaining. So what I have here, I have 6.5. So I have whatever I have, the midpoint is 6.5. So that will give us 3.2 here. So after marking it, I'll come in by 1 inch here like this. So I'll mark 1 inch. So I'll use my armhole curve to connect it. So I'll connect it like this with my armhole curve. I'll be connecting it to the slanted where I slanted. Okay, so like this. Okay, guys. So after marking this midpoint, the next thing I'm going to do is to input my neckline. Okay? And the neckline I have my neck. Remember, it's a senator top. So you measure your client's neck. So when I measure what I got 18 inches. So you divide it, whatever you got, by 6 inches. So that will determine. So when I divide 18 inches by 6, it gives me 3 inches. So from here, so I'll be using 3 inches of neck width. So I'll go ahead and mark it here. So this is my 3 inches for the neck width. So in order for you to get the measurement for the neck depth, you're going to add half inch to whatever neck width you got after dividing it by 6. Okay, so I'll be using 3.5. So this is my 3.5 inches here. So I have 3.5. So I'll go ahead and connect it this way. I'll make the run. So I hope you guys can see this chalk. I'm trying to bold it so it will be visible. So now after marking it, I think that is all for the front. The next thing is for us to cut it out. Okay, guys, so I'm done cutting the front. So the next thing is for us to cut out the back. So for us to cut the back, so now so here the width and everything will be the same exactly. The only difference is here. So you can see the back is longer than the front. So that is how it's supposed to be. All right. So now, so from here, you place the back on another fabric. So from the neck here, I'll be extending it by 2.5 inches from this point. So I'll go ahead and extend this line. So like this. After which I'll go ahead and measure 2.5 inches here. So at this armhole area, I'll be marking 2 inches. So here I have it like this. So this is my 2 inches. So the next thing I will do is to slant. So I'll go ahead and slant it this way. Okay. So after that, now how do we get our neckline? So from here, I'll be marking the neckline of 1.5 inches. So here is my 1.5 for the depth of the back. Remember, the width is the same. So after that, I'll use my armhole curve to connect. Okay, let me first of all slant it this way and cut it out so that we will not get confused. There are so many ways you can cut this senator top. Okay, so after slanting, you can decide to place it like this before marking out. So you place it before marking out your, okay. So but there are so many ways. So now after marking out the depth, so the next thing I will go ahead and do is to connect it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and connect like this. You can see this is the 1.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and connect it this way. Okay, so this is what I have. So you go ahead and place it after. So after that, then you blend it and give it a nice curve. So after cut, you can see I'm done cutting the neckline. So the next thing is to cut the armhole. Okay, so I'm going to be cutting out the armhole. So I'm going to mark it this way, then you cut. Okay guys, so now we are done with the cutting. So this is what we have. Okay, make sure you give it a very nice curve here. So you go ahead and you can go ahead and notch this part. All right, so this is what you have. So make sure you curve your back very well. All right, so this is it guys. So after which you go ahead and cut your sleeves, your basic sleeves. I will put a link on my description box how to cut your basic sleeves and the trouser or pants. All right, so guys, thank you so much for joining me on this tutorial. If you find this video helpful, please kindly give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not subscribed. Please hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new videos. Okay, so you can, at this juncture, you can go ahead and design your senator top anyhow you want it. All right, so guys, thank you so much for joining me. Bye.